Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture on C++ programming language. We are on lecture 32nd, and in this lecture we write another program or another mini project in C++ using switch statement. On the last lecture we talked about switch statement, how we can use a switch statement in C++, and also we wrote some examples. But in this example, we write a simple, mini project in C++ using switch statement, which is a simple calculator. So in this program or in this mini project, we ask the user to enter two numbers, first number and the second number, and then we ask the user to enter the operator. We ask the user to enter one of the following operator: plus operator, subtraction operator, or we can say, the addition operator. Instead of plus, it's better to use the addition operator, the subtraction operator, the minus, and the division operator from the user, and also the multiplication operator from the user. So we ask the user to enter one of the following characters or operators. Once the user enter plus, so what we do using switch statements, we add those two numbers together and we print out the result. If the user enters, the minus, so then what we do, or we subtract those two numbers and then we print out the result. If the user enters the multiplication operator or character, so we multiply those two numbers together. And also if the user, enters the forward slash or division operator, so we divide the number 1 to the number 2 and print out the result. And if the user enters another, symbols or another characters, so we print out that is an invalid, operator. So before I write this mini project, so please pause the video, go on your computer, open your IDE and try to write this program using C++. So let's write our program. We are on lecture 32nd, and we write a simple calculator and using, switch statement. So let's write our program. So first, our program, we include at the top of our program, include, the IO stream library, which is input-output, our input-output, library, like C in, C out, because we use those, functions in our program. Then we add our, standard C++ library or namespace using namespace std. And then we have our main function, integer or main. We open the curly braces for the main function, and we close the curly braces for the main function, which is, our main block. So we write our program inside the main function. At the end of the program, we have, of course, a return 0, which I write here, return 0. As usual, our program ends with, this is the last statement in our program. So in this program, which we write a simple calculator, so we need, first we need to define, like our variables. Because we ask the user, to enter, like, if the user enters, plus, so we add, the numbers together. Plus for addition. Then minus for subtraction. Then we have, multiplication. We multiply these two numbers. If the user enters the forward slash or division operator, we divide those two numbers, or we division. So first, we declare our variables. So here I declare, because if you can see here, I have characters. So I declare a variable called, operator or operator. So character operator, because I need to ask the user to enter the operator. When the user enters, plus or minus as a star, which is multiplication or division, we store inside this variable. And then we declare two other variables. So I can write here double number one, num1 plus, because we are declaring here, double num1 and comma num2. So you can write number one, number two. So I just, make it shorter. Now we ask the user, cout, enter number one, then we use cn, store the user whenever enters, a number, so we store inside the num1. Then we cout as the user enter number two. Semicolon. Then we cn the number two. num2. And now we ask the user to enter the operator. So here I cout, enter the operator. Or you can write enter the operations. So inside, parentheses, I add here plus, minus, multiplication and division. Then colon, then quotation mark, and semicolon. So we store that operator inside our operator variable. Yes. And now we use switch statement here, okay? This is a time which we can use switch statement. So I write switch here. Switch. Oh, I'm sorry. I need to write a little smaller. So switch, we use the switch statement here, and then the block inside the switch parenthesis, we use the operator. And then we open the switch statement and we close the switch statement. But I will close here because I need to, so let's close here. Yeah. So now we have the switch statement. We check the operator and we open the block of switch and close the block of the switch. Inside switch, we have case. Like for the first case, I write case. If the value of operator is equal to plus, if case plus, then colon. So what I can do, I cout. You can write cout. And I write here addition, quotation. Then what I do, I add num1 and num2. So I add those two numbers together. Num1 plus num2. Oh, I have to use num2. And then I can use n line. And then I can use brick. So here, I check here. When the user enters an operator, for example, plus, and we store that plus inside the operator variable, then we switch that operator. If the value of this operator is equal to plus, so if it's plus, so what we can do, we add these two numbers together and print out, and we say addition, number one plus number two, and then break. Now, we need to check for subtraction. So I write the remaining part of the switch statement here and this side of our whiteboard. So I write here if case, if it is minus, so we use, for always remember, so for, character, we use single quote. Then we see out, we say subtraction, quotation, then we subtract num1 minus num2, and then we inline, and then we break. Then we check for case, another case, if it is multiplication, so we see out, we say multiplication, quotation, then we multiply these two numbers together. Num1 multiply to num2, and then inline, and then we have the break. Then if case, then we check for another case, which is division. Then we see out. Here we say division. And we divide num2, num1, divide by num2. And then inline. And then we write break. At the end, we have default in switch. Like if the none of, above cases do not match with the value of operator, so, the default section of the switch statement will be executed. And here we just see out, we say and we say invalid operator. Quotation inline. Yeah. So we actually, now we wrote it as C++ program, which, it's a simple calculator. So here we declare three variables. First, our variable is operator and the type of char or character. Why? Because we need to, store inside this operator the plus character, minus character, subtraction character or division character. And then we declare two variables, num1, num2, and data type is double. So it can be, double number or floating point number. So then we see out enter number one. When the user enters the number, so we store inside that number one variable. And then we see out enter number two variable. Then the user, whenever enters a value or a number, we store inside number two. And then we see out enter the operator. So we ask the user to enter one of the following operator: plus, minus, subtraction, and division. So here we say cn operator. It means we store that operator which is entered by the user inside the operator variable. And now we use the switch statement and we check the value of operator inside the switch with each case we have here. So, for example, if the user enters the plus, so the plus operator is stored inside operator variable, and now we check for equality here. If the value of operator is equal to plus for the case 1, which is our first case is case plus. If the value of operator is equal to plus, so what we can do, we add these two numbers together. We say out addition and add two numbers. If it is not, for example, if the user enters dash or minus, which is subtraction, so we check, is the minus equal to plus? No. So once the cases become false, is not equal, So it will not execute this part, which is addition. It goes to another case. In this case, we check if the value of this operator is equal to this case. Yes, because the user enters dash or minus. So minus equal to minus. So this part of the program will execute, and we, print out subtraction and the result of number one minus number two, and then break. If, for example, if it's not minus and the user enters, multiplication, so this case will be executed because we check the equality. The operator value, if the operator value is equal to the case value, yes. So if it's, because it's the user enters the multiplication, so we print out multiplication and we multiply those two numbers. At the end, if the user enters the subtraction, the division operator, so we perform division. And if none of the case, like for example, if the user enters a character like hey, so that value of operator, which is a now, is not matching with the first case, it's not matching with the second case, it's not matching with the third case, it's not matching with the fourth case. Now, the default section of our program will be executed, which print out cout invalid operator and then end line. So we close the the curly braces of switch statement at the end. So this is a simple calculator using switch statements. So now let's go in our system and write this program together. I'm back in my computer, so let's open our C++ IDE. So we are on lecture 32nd, and we write a simple calculator using switch statement on C++. So first, let's declare our variables. Char, I can write here operator or operation, char operator. Then I, write it's read. Because it's less, right? Let's change the variable. So I can change the name of the variable to operation. And then we declare our double number one, comma number two. And then we cout ask the user to enter first number, semicolon, cn, then we write cn number one, and then cout enter second number, and then cn number two. And now we cout and ask the user to enter an operator, okay? So cout, enter, I ask the user enter an operator. And also inside parentheses, I write here like, plus for addition, subtraction, minus for subtraction, and also multiplication, then division. And then I close the parentheses. Now, cn, we store the operator inside, the operation variable. And now we switch. And inside switch is cases plus. So we write cout number one, number two. Yes, of course. We add them. Is the good thing about IDE is it suggests, So cout addition. So I can write here number one plus number two inline. And then break. Then case minus. This case should be format it like another case, okay? So case, if the user enters, the minus operator or subtraction, so we have cout subtraction, and then we use break, then case multiplication. So I write this one. Case multiplication, so we see out multiplication and we multiply those numbers together and then break. And then we have another case, which is, division. So let's format our program. And then cout division number one plus division. We use, divide the number one onto number two. Then we use break. And then we have now the default section of the program, or C++. So now here I write default. The default is only executed if our operation value is not matched to the case value in the switch. So now we say invalid operator, and I can put here a pine or stop sign. So now we just wrote it a simple C++ program, which is a simple calculator. We first declared our variable, which is a character. The variable name is operation, and the type is character. Then we define another two variables, or declare two variables, number one, number two. And then we ask the user to enter the first number. So we store the first number inside our number one variable, and then we ask the user to enter the second number. Then we store the second number inside the number two variable. Then we ask the user to enter the operator, one of the following operator, and when the user enters one of the operators, so we store that operator inside that operation variable, and then we switch the operation variable. If the user enters the plus, so in switch, it actually checks if the value of this operation variable is equal to the value of the cases inside the switch. So first it checks with the case plus. If the user enters the plus, so the value of operation become equal to the first case, which is plus. So this part of the program will be executed, which is addition. It print out addition, number one plus number two. Then if the case is not equal to the plus, suppose the user enters minus, so now it ignores the first part of the switch statement, which is case plus, because the value is not equal to the operation variable. So now it checks the value of case two with operation variable. If they are equal, yes, it's equal. So it execute this part of the program, which print out subtraction, number one minus number two, and then it will execute the remaining program, and the break will break the execution of the program and transfer the execution of the program to the after the break block. So it checks then with case multiplication. If the user enters the multiplication character, it checks if this character is equal to the value of operation. So it perform the multiplication operator, and then it checks for the division operators if the value of operation is equal to the value of the case here, which is division operator. So it divide the number one onto number two, and if none of the above cases match, if none of the above value of each case is not matched with the operation variable, so the default of section of the switch statement will be executed, and it says invalid operator. So let's compile and run our program so we can check how it works. It says enter the first number, so I enter 12, enter the second number, I enter 4, and then it says enter an operator. For example, I select star or multiplication. It says multiplication became 48, and then the program ends. Now we compile and run again our program. For example, I enter, 65, enter, 33. And for operator, I enter them dash or minus. Is, subtract the value of, second number from the first number, and it print out the subtraction value. If I enter, number 1 is 7, number 2 is 4, and I enter the plus operator, so let's see. Addition become 11. So let's compile and run our programs. I enter a number like 100, another number is 6. And the operator, I enter, like, for example, division. And it divides these numbers together. And now if I compile and run again the program, and I enter number 1 like 67, number 2 is 67, but I enter an invalid operator, like, for example, is, and it says invalid operator.